The doctor's son had been in a coma for 9 months until the orphan girl did something unexpected. Dr. Ricardo Santos walked the hallways of Maplewood General Hospital with heavy steps, carrying the weight of 9 months of silent despair. His 2-year-old son, Lucas, remained in a vegetative state since that terrible car accident, and none of the treatments he knew seemed to make a difference. That Tuesday morning, upon entering room 314, Ricardo stopped, surprised, at the doorway. A small girl, about 7 years old, sat in the chair beside Lucas's bed. Her blonde hair fell over her shoulders, while her small hands held a pink child-safe pair of scissors, carefully cutting pieces of colored paper. "What are you doing here?" Ricardo asked, more confused than irritated. Clearing his throat, the girl lifted her blue eyes and stared at him fearlessly. "I'm making little birds for the sleeping man. Aunt Carmen said he liked to watch the birds from the window before the accident." Ricardo felt a pang in his chest. It was true. Lucas had always been fascinated by birds since he was little. But how did this child know that? "Who are you? How did you get in here?" "I'm Sophia. I live at Hope Haven Children's Center, which is next to the hospital. Sometimes I come here when I'm too sad." The girl returned her attention to the paper, folding it with surprising precision for someone so young. "You can't be here. This is a restricted area," Ricardo said, trying to keep his voice firm. Sophia stopped cutting and looked directly at Lucas, then at Ricardo. "He's sad too. I feel when people are sad. That's why I came to keep him company. He's in a coma. He doesn't feel anything." "Yes, he does," Sophia countered with a conviction that unsettled Ricardo. "When I sing, the machines make different noises, and when I tell stories, he gets calmer." Ricardo observed the monitors. Lucas's heart rate was indeed more stable than it usually was most of the time. "You have to leave now." Sophia obeyed without protesting, but left 3 paper birds on the bedside table. "I'll come back tomorrow," she murmured as she passed Ricardo. "No, you won't. I'm going to speak with administration." But Sophia had already left, leaving only the sweet scent of child soap in the air. Ricardo approached his son's bed and picked up one of the paper birds. It was delicately made, perfectly folded. For a few moments, he allowed himself to remember how Lucas used to make origami as a child, before medicine consumed all of Ricardo's time. The next day, Ricardo arrived at the hospital earlier. As he opened the door to room 314, he found a scene that left him speechless. Sophia was there again, but this time she wasn't alone. Carmen, one of the hospital's oldest nurses, was by her side, helping her arrange a true collection of colorful paper birds on the table. "Dr. Ricardo," Carmen exclaimed, clearly embarrassed. "Can I explain?" "You don't need to explain anything, Carmen. I said yesterday that this girl couldn't be here." Sophia got up from the chair and positioned herself beside Lucas's bed, as if protecting him. "I didn't hurt anything. I just brought more little birds." Nurse Carmen gently intervened. "The girl has been coming here for 3 weeks. She always asks permission at the reception and never bothers anyone. And, well, Lucas's vital signs are more stable when she's around." Ricardo looked at the monitors. It was true. His blood pressure was normal, his heart rate regular. "That's a coincidence, maybe," Sophia said, turning to him. But what if it isn't? The question echoed in Ricardo's mind for the rest of the day. He tried to concentrate on his consultations, but the image of that girl caring for Lucas with such affection wouldn't leave his head. That night, Ricardo decided to investigate. He sought out Margarete Silva, director of Hope Haven Children's Center, and discovered Sophia's story. The girl had lost her parents in a car accident 2 years prior. Since then, she had lived at the shelter, but struggled to adapt. "Sophia is a special child," explained Margarete, a 60-year-old woman with gray hair and kind eyes, very intelligent, but she carries a deep sadness. She has frequent nightmares and difficulty making friends. The other children think she's strange because she always talks about people's feelings. And this story of coming to the hospital started after she saw your son admitted. Sophia was at the shelter's window when the ambulance arrived. She became obsessed with the idea that she could help in some way. Ricardo returned home thoughtfully. His own house, an elegant townhouse in an upscale Toronto neighborhood, felt empty and cold. After his divorce 3 years earlier, he lived alone. Sandra, his ex-wife, had moved to the countryside, unable to cope with the intensity of his medical career and the emotional detachment Ricardo had developed over the years. His relationship with Lucas was also strained before the accident. Father and son had a terrible fight on the day of the accident because of Ricardo's work. Lucas accused him of never being a present father, of valuing patients more than his own family. Those were the last words they exchanged. The next morning, Ricardo arrived at the hospital, determined to definitively expel Sofia. But as he entered the room, he heard something that made him stop in the hallway. Sofia was singing a children's song, and, for the first time in months, the monitors showed slightly different brain activity. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are," Sofia sang in her sweet, clear voice. Ricardo observed the graphs on the monitor. There were small variations in Lucas's brainwaves, so subtle that only an experienced doctor could detect them. "Keep singing," Ricardo whispered, entering the room silently. Sofia looked at him, surprised, but obeyed. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Lucas's brainwaves changed again. It was minimal, almost imperceptible, but it was happening. Ricardo approached the bed and observed his son's face attentively. For a moment, he imagined seeing an almost invisible twitch around his eyes. "Is he listening to me?" Sofia asked softly. "I don't know," Ricardo admitted. "But it's different when you're here." Sofia smiled for the first time since Ricardo had met her. "Can I keep coming?" Ricardo hesitated. His medical mind told him it was nonsense, that any improvement would be a coincidence. But something in his desperate father's heart wanted to grasp any possible hope. "Yes," he finally said, "but there are rules. You can only come when I'm here, and you always have to let me know when you arrive. I promise." From that day on, an unexpected routine was established. Sofia arrived at the hospital every afternoon after school, which she attended near the shelter. She always brought new paper birds, each made with different colors. Ricardo discovered that she chose the colors based on the mood she sensed from Lucas that day. "Today he has a blue feeling," Sofia explained, showing an origami in light blue tones. "It's not sadness, it's more like longing." During the next 2 weeks, Ricardo began to observe patterns. Sofia was right about Lucas's feelings. On days she described as yellow, which she said meant hope, neurological exams showed slightly higher activity. On gray days, profound sadness, Lucas seemed more apathetic, even unconscious. One day, Sofia arrived at the hospital carrying a different bag. "What did you bring today?" asked Ricardo, who had already grown accustomed to her surprises. "Scissors and special paper. I'm going to teach him how to make little birds when he wakes up." "Sofia," Ricardo began carefully, "you know he might never wake up, right?" Sofia stopped organizing her materials and stared at him with a seriousness disconcerting for a 7-year-old. "I know the doctors think that, but I feel he wants to wake up. He's just scared." "Scared of what? That you're still mad at him?" Sofia's words hit Ricardo like a punch to the gut. He had never told anyone about the argument he had with Lucas before the accident. "How do you know about that?" "I hear things and I feel things. When you're near his bed, the room feels heavy, as if there's a gray cloud hovering." Ricardo sank heavily into the chair beside the bed. "We fought on the day of the accident. He said I was never a good father, and he was right." Sofia put down the scissors and approached Ricardo. "My mommy and daddy also fought in the car before their accident, but I know they loved each other anyway." "How do you know?" "Because family love doesn't end because of a fight. It just hides beneath anger. When the anger goes away, love comes back." The simplicity and wisdom of that child moved Ricardo deeply. He stood up and approached Lucas's bed, truly looking at his son for the first time in weeks. For months, he had only seen graphs, monitors, numbers. Now there was the man he had raised, who had grown distant from him because of work and misplaced priorities. "Lucas," Ricardo whispered, touching his son's hand. "I'm so sorry, son. I'm sorry for being a bad father. I'm sorry for not having time for you. I'm sorry for valuing patience more than my own family." Sofia watched in silence, cutting paper methodically. "He listened," she said after a few minutes. "The yellow is back." Ricardo looked at the monitors and noticed a subtle change in his heart rate. "I'm going to do better," Ricardo continued, still holding Lucas's hand. "If you come back to me, I'll be the father you always deserved. I'll cut back on work. I'll make time for you. We'll do the things we always wanted to do together." In the days that followed, Ricardo began to talk more with Lucas during visits. Sofia encouraged him, saying that true conversations were good for people who had been sleeping for a long time. One afternoon, Sofia asked a question that took Ricardo by surprise. "Doctor, Ricardo, do you want to be my daddy too?" Ricardo almost dropped the coffee he was drinking. "What do you mean, Sofia? I don't have a mommy or a daddy. You only have one son who's sleeping. And I feel like we match, like a family that found each other by accident." The innocence of the request deeply touched Ricardo. He had grown so accustomed to Sofia's daily presence that he could barely imagine afternoons at the hospital without her. It's not that simple, dear. Adoption is a complicated process. But do you want to? Ricardo looked at the girl who had brought light into his darkest days. Sofia had become more than just a companion for Lucas. She had become the daughter he never knew he wanted. Yes, he admitted, surprising himself. Very much. Sofia smiled and returned to her activity, as if the answer was obvious. That night, Ricardo sought an adoption lawyer. Dr. Fernanda Oliveira, an experienced woman in the field, explained the process. Dr. Santos, adoption is a very serious commitment, especially considering your current situation. How do you intend to reconcile caring for your hospitalized son and a 7-year-old child? I will reduce my workload. I've already spoken with the hospital administration about it. And Sofia is aware that your son may never recover. She is. In fact, she seems to handle that possibility better than I do. Dr. Oliveira made some notes. I'll need to interview Sofia, assess her adaptation with you, and of course, Hope Haven Children's Center will have to agree to the transfer of guardianship. The adoption process brought a new routine. Sofia began to sleep at Ricardo's house 3 times a week, as part of the adaptation period. On those days, she insisted on visiting Lucas both in the morning and in the afternoon. Now he has a little sister, Sofia explained to Lucas, carefully arranging new origami on the table. I'm going to take care of him when he wakes up, just like I take care of Daddy Ricardo. Ricardo was moved to hear her call him Daddy Ricardo for the first time. One night, while Sofia was sleeping in the guest room, Ricardo woke to the sound of sobs coming from the hallway. He found the girl sitting on the floor, crying silently. What happened, dear? I had the nightmare again about my real parents' accident. Ricardo sat beside her on the floor and pulled her into a hug. Do you want to tell me about the nightmare? I always dream that I can yell at them to stop fighting, that if they stopped fighting, the accident wouldn't happen. But in the dream, they never listened to me. Sofia, you know the accident wasn't your fault, right? In my head, I know, but in my heart, it still hurts a lot. Ricardo rocked her in his lap, as he used to do when Lucas was little. Do you know what I've learned? The pain never completely goes away, but we learn to carry it in a way that doesn't hurt so much. And when we have people we love nearby, it gets easier. Is that why you get sad near Lucas? Yes, I carry the guilt of our fight, just like you carry the guilt that isn't yours about your parents. Sofia lifted her head and looked him in the eyes. Then we can carry the sadness together. It's lighter when you share it, right? This conversation marked a change in their relationship. Ricardo realized that Sofia was not just a child who needed care. She was a companion who understood his pain in a way few adults could. 2 weeks later, an unexpected complication arose. Margarete Silva, the shelter director, received a call from a woman who identified herself as Sofia's aunt. Helena Montenegro contacted us. Margarete explained to Ricardo in a tense meeting. She is Sofia's mother's sister and says she wants guardianship of the girl. But where was she these 2 years? According to her, she didn't know Sofia had survived the accident. She lived abroad and has only now returned to Canada. Ricardo felt the ground crumble beneath his feet. Does Sofia know about this? Not yet. We wanted to speak with you first. When Ricardo told Sofia about her aunt, the girl's reaction was immediate and desperate. I don't want to go with her. I don't know her. My family is you and Lucas. Sofia, maybe it's what's best for you. Blood family is important. No! Sofia cried, clinging to Ricardo's arm. Blood family isn't just about who's born together. It's about who chooses to stay together. The lady from the shelter said that once. Ricardo hugged the girl, but inside he was devastated. He had allowed himself to dream of a true family, and now everything could fall apart. Helena Montenegro was a 4-5-year-old, elegant woman who worked in the financial sector. When she met Sofia, the girl was polite, but clearly uncomfortable. Sofia, I'm your mommy's sister, Helena said, trying to establish a connection. You look a lot like her when she was little. I don't remember, mommy, Sofia replied coldly. I can help you remember. I have many photos and stories. But Sofia remained distant throughout the visit. That night, in the hospital room, Sofia confided in Ricardo. She seems nice, but I don't feel anything special for her. With you and Lucas, I felt it the first time I saw you. Like you were my real family. Sometimes feelings take time to appear, Sofia. And sometimes they don't appear because they're not meant to, Sofia countered with her peculiar wisdom. The situation became complicated when Helena filed a legal action to gain guardianship of Sofia. She argued that she had priority as a blood relative and that Ricardo was taking advantage of an orphan child's vulnerability. Dr. Fernanda Oliveira explained the legal situation to Ricardo. It's complicated. Helena has rights as a relative, but the fact that you are already in the adoption process and Sofia has clearly adapted to your family may weigh in your favor. What can I do? We need to prove that you offer the best environment for Sofia and that separating her from you and your son would be detrimental to her emotional well-being. During this tense period, Ricardo noticed that Sofia was more anxious and agitated. She made origami compulsively, creating hundreds of paper birds that she scattered around Lucas's room. I'm making protection birds, she explained, for when the mean aunt wants to take me away. One night, Sofia disappeared from the shelter. Margarete called Ricardo desperately. She ran away after dinner. We think she might have gone to the hospital. Ricardo rushed there and found Sofia in Lucas's room, curled up asleep in the chair, her small hand holding his. Sofia, Ricardo whispered, gently waking her. Daddy Ricardo, I was scared you'd leave too. I'm never leaving, dear, not even if they make me. Even if the mean aunt wins in court, you'll always be my daughter in my heart, and always have a place with me and Lucas. Sofia nestled into Ricardo's lap. Lucas moved today, she whispered. What do you mean? When I was telling him about the mean aunt, I felt his hand squeeze mine very gently, like when someone wants to speak but can't. Ricardo checked the monitors. There was no record of abnormal activity, but he had learned to trust Sofia's peculiar perception. We'll stay here tonight, Ricardo decided. All together. They slept in the hospital room, Sofia in Ricardo's lap beside Lucas's bed. During the early morning, Ricardo woke to Sofia, speaking softly. Lucas, you need to wake up soon. Daddy Ricardo is very sad, and I can't take care of him alone anymore. The mean aunt wants to take me away, and I don't want to go. But if you wake up, she can't separate our family. Ricardo pretended to still be asleep, but Sofia's words moved him deeply. I made 300 little birds for you, Sofia continued. One for each day you've been sleeping. When you wake up, they'll all truly fly. The following week, the hearing to decide Sofia's guardianship took place. Helena brought family photos, financial records showing she could offer good education and stability. Ricardo brought something different, a notebook full of drawings Sofia had made during her months at the hospital. Each page showed 3 figures, a man, a girl, and a person lying down, always together, always caring for each other. Your Honor, said Dr. Fernanda Oliveira, Ricardo's lawyer, these images clearly show how Sofia perceives her family. Separating this child from Dr. Santos and Lucas would be traumatic for her emotional development. Helena countered. Can a single man with a son in a coma offer stability? No, he cannot. Sofia needs a maternal figure and a normal life. When Sofia was called to speak with the judge, she was articulate and firm. Your name is Sofia, isn't it? The judge asked gently. Yes, sir. Tell me about your current family. My family is Daddy Ricardo and my brother Lucas. Lucas is sick, so Daddy and I take care of him together, like a real family. And about your Aunt Helena? She seems nice, but I don't feel like she's my family. Family isn't just about having the same blood. It's about who chooses to stay together during hard times too. The judge asked a few more questions, and then announced he would need a week to decide. That was the most tense week in Ricardo's life. He could barely work, spending all his free hours at the hospital with Sofia and Lucas. What if the judge decides I have to live with Aunt Helena? Sofia asked one afternoon. Then we'll find a way to still be family anyway, Ricardo promised. But we won't give up easily. Sofia had developed a new ritual. Every day, she would tell Lucas exactly how many days he had been sleeping and how many birds she had made for him. Today is 276 days, Lucas. And I've already made 276 little birds. Tomorrow I'll make the 277th. When it gets to 300, you have to wake up. It's our deal. Ricardo had learned not to dismiss Sofia's feelings about Lucas. There were times when she seemed to have an inexplicable connection to his condition. On day 285, Sofia arrived at the hospital particularly agitated. Lucas is different today, she announced as soon as she entered the room. What do you mean? He's more present, as if he's trying to push himself to wake up. Ricardo checked the monitors, but found nothing different. However, he trusted Sofia so much that he asked the neurologist to perform an extra evaluation. Dr. Beatriz Campos, the responsible neurologist, was a competent woman who had followed the case from the beginning. Dr. Santos, the exams don't show significant changes, but there are some subtle variations that may indicate increased neural activity. It's possible he's beginning to awaken. It's possible, but I don't want to create unnecessary hope. These fluctuations might mean nothing, but Sofia was sure they meant something. On the day of the court decision, the entire improvised family was gathered in the courtroom. Ricardo, Sofia, Margarete from Hope Haven, and even Carmen, the nurse, who had asked to testify about Sofia's dedication to Lucas. Judge Dr. Marcos Ribeiro went straight to the point. After careful analysis, considering the best interest of the minor, I decided to keep Sofia under the provisional guardianship of Dr. Ricardo Santos, proceeding with the adoption process. Sofia shouted with joy and threw herself into Ricardo's arms. However, the judge continued, I established that Helena Montenegro will have the right to bi-weekly visits and participation in important decisions regarding Sofia's education. It wasn't a complete victory, but it was enough to keep the family together. That afternoon, they rushed to the hospital to tell Lucas the news. Lucas! Sofia cried, running into the room. I'm going to keep being your little sister. The judge said, I can stay with Daddy Ricardo forever. She sat in her usual chair and began to recount all the details of the hearing, gesticulating animatedly. Ricardo watched, smiling, when he suddenly noticed something strange on the monitors. Lucas's heart rate had slightly accelerated. Sofia, Ricardo said calmly, keep talking to him. Don't stop. Why? Just keep going. Sofia resumed her story, and again, the monitors registered subtle changes. Lucas, today is 290 days you've been sleeping. Only 10 days left until the 300 little birds. Do you remember our deal? Suddenly, Lucas's fingers moved almost imperceptibly. Ricardo saw it. Sofia saw it. Lucas? Sofia cried, jumping up. He moved his hand. Ricardo approached quickly and watched intently. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Then, very slowly, Lucas's fingers moved again. Nurse! Ricardo shouted. Call Dr. Beatriz now! Within minutes, the room was full of doctors and nurses. Doctor, Beatriz arrived, rushing, and began performing neurological tests. Doctor, Santos, I'm seeing responses we haven't had in months. More active pupillary reflexes, small involuntary muscle movements. Is he waking up? Sofia asked, clutching Ricardo's arm. It's too early to say, but these are positive signs. Over the next few hours, the entire medical team closely monitored Lucas. Sofia refused to leave the bedside. I'll stay here until he opens his eyes, she declared with determination. Around 2 a.m., it happened. Lucas slowly opened his eyes, blinked a few times, and looked around confusedly. His gaze stopped on Sofia, then moved to Ricardo. Dad? He whispered in a hoarse, weak voice. Ricardo began to cry. Sofia cried out with joy. Lucas, you're awake, you're awake. Who? Who is she? Lucas asked, still confused. This is Sofia, Ricardo explained through tears. Your little sister. She took care of you all these days. Lucas tried to smile and signaled for Sofia to come closer. Thank you, he whispered to her. Sofia started crying and held his hand. I told you you'd wake up. I made 290 little birds for you. The following days were ones of gradual recovery. Lucas needed to relearn some basic functions, but his progress was surprisingly rapid. The first true conversation between father and son happened a week later. Dad, I remember some things. Voices, music. It was her singing. It was Sofia. She came here every day. She kept you company when I couldn't. And because I felt you were sad when I was near. Ricardo took a deep breath. Because I was carrying the guilt of our fight. I thought you had the accident because of me. Dad, the accident wasn't anyone's fault. And about our fight, I said things I shouldn't have too. You were right, Lucas. I was never the father you deserved, but I can be from now on. Sofia, watching the conversation from the chair, interrupted. There, now you've made up, and our family is complete. Lucas looked at Sofia with affection. So, she's officially my little sister? She's in the adoption process, Ricardo explained. But yes, she is our family. Good, because from what I understand, I owe my life to her. Lucas's full recovery took 3 months. During that time, Sofia helped him with physiotherapy exercises, always turning everything into a game. Lucas, you have to move your fingers like a little bird moves its wings, she would say during the exercises. Like this? Lucas would ask, moving his fingers clumsily. That's it. Now you're a paper bird that turned real. The family dynamic that formed was unique. Ricardo had drastically reduced his workload to dedicate himself to the family. Lucas, who had once been distant, now actively participated in Sofia's upbringing. Dad, Sofia is very intelligent, Lucas said in a private conversation. I think she should take tests for special schools for gifted children. You think so? I'm sure of it. The way she perceived things about my condition, that's not normal for a 7-year-old. Ricardo had the test done and discovered that Sofia was well above average and had exceptional empathic abilities. She always knew you were getting better before the doctors detected it, Ricardo told Lucas. She saved my life in a way medicine couldn't. 6 months after Lucas's awakening, the family moved to a new house, adapted for his recovery needs and with a large backyard where Sofia could play. On the first day in the new house, Sofia held a special ceremony. She took all 300 paper birds she had made for Lucas and scattered them throughout the yard. Now you can truly fly, she said to the origami. Lucas woke up. Our family is complete. Your mission is over. A gentle breeze carried some of the paper birds, as if they were truly flying. Ricardo watched from the window, embraced by Lucas, who still used a cane to walk. Dad, do you regret anything? Lucas asked. I regret taking so long to understand what truly matters, but I don't regret anything that happened after Sofia came into our lives. She saved us, didn't she? She saved our family. Sofia ran into the house, beaming. Daddy Ricardo, Lucas, come see. There's a real bird in our backyard. I think he came to get the paper birds. The two went out to the backyard and saw a robin perched on the fence, singing cheerfully. It's a sign, Sofia said with conviction. It means our family will be happy forever. And for the first time in many years, Ricardo believed she was right. 2 years later, on a sunny Saturday afternoon, the family was gathered in the backyard. Sofia, now 9 years old and studying at a school for gifted children, drew in her notebook. Lucas, fully recovered and working as an occupational therapist, taught origami to a group of neighborhood children. Ricardo, who had opened a private practice with reduced hours, read a book in the shade. Daddy Ricardo, Sofia called, looking up from her drawing. Can I ask you something? Of course, dear. Do you think my real parents were happy that I found you? Ricardo stopped reading and approached her. I think they were very happy and very proud of the brave and loving girl you've become. And I think they chose you to take care of me, like a gift they sent from heaven. Maybe, Ricardo agreed, kissing her head. Or maybe we were the gift. Sometimes it's hard to know who saved whom. Sofia smiled and returned to her drawing. It was a family of 3 figures in a backyard full of flowers and flying birds. It's our family, she explained to Ricardo. But look, she said, showing small details in the drawing. 2 transparent figures in the sky, lovingly observing the scene. Those are my birth parents. They're watching over us from above. Ricardo felt his eyes well up. It's the most beautiful drawing you've ever made. It's because our story is beautiful. It started sad, but it ended happy. Lucas approached, listening to the conversation. Our story hasn't ended, Sofia. It's just beginning. We have many years of family ahead of us. It's true, Sofia exclaimed. We're going to have many adventures together. That night, at bedtime, Sofia asked to sleep in the room she shared with Lucas on weekends. Lucas, can I tell you a secret? She whispered in bed. You can. When you were sleeping in the hospital, sometimes I felt you really listened to me. I did listen. Your voice gave me the strength to come back. And when I made the little birds, I always asked them to carry my love to you. They did. I felt it. So, the magic of the paper birds really works? It does, Lucas confirmed, hugging her. And do you know what the greatest magic was? What? Transforming 3 sad people into a happy family. Sofia smiled in the dark. Good night, brother. Good night, little sister. 2 rooms over, Ricardo finished organizing some documents when he found a folder with all the drawings Sofia had made during her time at the hospital. He slowly leafed through each page, reliving the emotional journey that had brought them there. On the last drawing, made on the day Lucas woke up, Sofia had written in childlike handwriting, "Family is when people choose to stay together forever, even when it's hard." Ricardo smiled and carefully put away the folder. It was the most perfect definition of family he had ever heard. The next morning, Sunday, they established a new tradition. Every first Sunday morning of the month, they would visit Hope Haven Children's Center so Sofia could play with the children who still lived there. I want them to know that hope exists, Sofia explained, that families can appear when we least expect them. During these visits, Sofia always brought origami for the younger children and always repeated the same phrase, "Paper birds carry our wishes to special places. You just need to believe." Ricardo and Lucas watched proudly as Sofia spread her peculiar wisdom and her ability to give hope to other children who had experienced loss. She's going to change many lives, Lucas commented. On one of those visits, she already changed ours, Ricardo replied. And he was right. Sofia had not only saved Lucas from a coma that could have lasted forever, she had saved a family that was shattered and had created something completely new from the love, perseverance, and innocent faith of an orphan child. Years later, when Sofia became a psychologist specializing in traumatized children, she always kept origami in her office and always told her young patients the story of how paper birds can truly fly when they carry true love. Lucas, who specialized in rehabilitation therapy, never forgot the lessons of patience and perseverance he learned from a 7-year-old girl. He always told his patients, recovery isn't just physical, it's emotional. And sometimes all we need is someone who believes in us when we don't even believe in ourselves. Ricardo, who learned to balance work and family, became known for his humanized approach to medicine. He always reminded medical students, healing is more than prescribing medicine. It's connecting with the whole person, not just the disease. The story of the Santos family spread throughout the hospital, becoming a legend about the power of faith, love, and perseverance. New nurses always asked about the paperbird girl and how she had managed to wake a patient everyone considered a lost cause. The answer was always the same. She didn't wake him alone. She woke an entire family to what truly matters. And every anniversary of Lucas's awakening, as they called it, the Santos family held a special party in their backyard, always decorated with colorful paper origami flying in the trees. Sofia, even as she grew up, never lost the habit of making paper birds when she was nervous or when she wanted to manifest a special wish. And Ricardo and Lucas learned that sometimes miracles come in the form of determined children with pink scissors and giant hearts. The true magic wasn't in the origami itself, but in the unconditional love that a 7-year-old orphan was able to share with 2 men who had forgotten how to be family. And so, what began as the greatest tragedy in Ricardo and Lucas's lives transformed into the most precious gift they could have received. A daughter and sister who taught them that family isn't just about blood, but about choice, dedication, and love, which remains firm even in the most difficult moments. Years later, when they told the story to friends, they always ended it the same way. Sofia didn't save them despite being a child. She saved them precisely because she was a child, with all the faith, hope, and pure love that only a child can possess. And the story continued day after day, with small acts of love, mutual care, and the certainty that they had found a true family in the most improbable circumstances. During the 5th year after the family's formation, a new situation tested the bonds they had built with such affection. Ricardo, now 58, began to feel the first signs that his own health wasn't perfect. Routine exams revealed a cardiac condition that, while treatable, required care and lifestyle changes. Is Daddy Ricardo sick? Sofia, now 12, asked when Ricardo and Lucas sat down to discuss the situation. He's not sick, Sofia, Lucas calmly explained. But he needs to take better care of his heart. That means working less and resting more. Sofia absorbed the information with the same seriousness she always showed in important moments. Then, it's my turn to take care of both of you, she declared with determination. It's not your responsibility, dear, Ricardo said. You have to be a child. Family takes care of each other, Sofia replied, repeating the words she had learned from them. And taking care doesn't mean stopping being a child. It means being a child who loves her family. From that moment, Sofia took on small household responsibilities appropriate for her age. She organized Ricardo's medicines in a colorful box, made funny reminders so he wouldn't forget his medication schedule, and created origami with motivational messages that she scattered around the house. Lucas, who had become not only an older brother but a true life companion for Sofia, took on more responsibilities in managing the household. His experience as a therapist helped him deal with the special needs Ricardo's condition required. You know you don't have to do all this for me, right? Ricardo said one night, watching Sofia prepare his nightly tea and Lucas organizing the week's medical appointments. Of course we do, Sofia simply replied. That's what families do. Besides, Lucas added, you did that for us for a long time. Now it's our turn to return the favor. This phase brought a different maturity to the family. Sofia, who had always been wise beyond her years, developed an even deeper understanding of care and responsibility. Lucas discovered that caring for his father gave him a sense of purpose that complemented his professional work. One day, while Sofia was helping Ricardo with cardiac physiotherapy exercises, she made an observation that touched him deeply. Daddy Ricardo, remember when you said family is choosing to stay together even when it's hard? I remember. Now I understand better. Before, when Lucas was sleeping, it was you choosing to stay. Now it's me and Lucas choosing to stay. The family continues, but the caregivers change as needed. Ricardo stopped the exercise and looked at his adopted daughter. How did you get so wise? I learned from you, Sophia smiled, and from the paper birds. They taught me that small things can make big differences when they're made with love. Over the following months, the family's routine adjusted to the new needs. Ricardo worked only part-time. Lucas had found a job that allowed him to work some hours from home, and Sophia continued to be the brilliant and empathetic child she always was, but now with a greater awareness of the value of family. One afternoon, Sophia arrived home from school with an unexpected proposal. Daddy, Ricardo, Lucas, I want to do something special for our family. What do you want to do? Lucas asked, curious. I want to write our story, the real story, from when you met at the hospital until now, so we never forget how we got here. Ricardo and Lucas exchanged emotional glances. That's a beautiful idea, Sophia. But it's a big responsibility. I know, but our story needs to be told. Maybe it will help other families going through difficult times. Sophia began working on her project with the dedication she put into everything she did. She interviewed Ricardo about the months of despair when Lucas was in a coma. She talked to Lucas about his fragmented memories of the unconscious period and explored her own recollections of how she felt as an orphan child searching for family. The most important thing about our story, Sophia wrote in her notebook, isn't that I saved you or that you saved me. It's that we all chose to be saved. Family happens when people decide they want to belong to each other. Sophia's project transformed into an illustrated children's book, with drawings she made herself, telling the story of a girl who made origami for a sleeping young man, and how that created a special family. The paper birds and the family of the heart, Sophia announced, showing the cover she had drawn. Sophia, this is incredible, Lucas said, flipping through the pages. You really captured the essence of our journey. And look, Ricardo said, pointing to a specific page. You managed to explain complex concepts in a way that other children will understand. Sophia's book caught the attention of the school, which suggested she present it at a humanities fair. The presentation was a success, and several families approached her afterward, sharing their own stories of adoption and non-traditional family formation. See, Sophia said to Ricardo and Lucas after the event, our story really helps other people. We're very proud of you, Ricardo replied. You've transformed our experience into something that can inspire other families. That night, after the successful presentation, the Santos family held their own celebration in the backyard. Sophia scattered origami among the tree branches, as she always did when she wanted to celebrate something special. Each little bird represents a happy moment of our family, she explained, carefully hanging each origami. How many happy moments have we had so far? Lucas asked. Sophia paused to count. Too many to count. But my favorite is still the day you woke up in the hospital. My favorite is the day the judge said I could stay with you forever, she added thoughtfully. And mine, Ricardo said, is today. Because today I see how our family has become strong enough to help other families. Lucas agreed. Every day with you is my favorite day, but today is special because I see that our Sophia has grown and become a person who spreads hope, just as she did with us at the hospital. Sophia smiled and hugged the two men who had become her true family. Tomorrow I'm going to make new little birds, she declared. Birds for all the children who are still looking for their families, and we're gonna help, Ricardo promised. Always, Lucas confirmed. This promise became a new family tradition. Every month they held an origami workshop at Hope Haven Children's Center, where Sophia had lived, teaching other children to make their own paper birds. The secret, Sophia always told the younger children, isn't in the origami itself. It's in the love you put into it while you're making it. Every fold in the paper is a wish from the heart, and wishes from the heart always reach where they need to go. And so, the story of the Santos family continued to expand, touching other lives, creating circles of hope that spread far beyond the walls of the hospital where it all began. Ricardo, taking better care of his health and living a more balanced life, discovered that his cardiac condition had stabilized. Doctors attributed the improvement not only to medication, but to the emotional well-being he found in finally having a full family life. Lucas, now a recognized and respected therapist, frequently used elements of his own family's story in his work, always with Ricardo's and Sophia's permission. His therapy techniques included artistic activities like origami, which helped patients express difficult feelings. Sophia, who excelled more and more at school, maintained her dream of one day working with orphan children. but now had the solid emotional foundation and family support necessary to pursue her goals with confidence. "When I grow up," Sophia would say, "I want to open a place where children who have lost their families can stay while they wait to find new ones. And there will be origami workshops every day so they always have hope flying around them." "We'll help you achieve that," Ricardo always promised. "It'll be the most beautiful project in the world," Lucas confirmed. Over the years, the Santos family story became a local legend. Not a fantastical legend, but a true story of how love can create family where none existed, how perseverance can awaken those who seemed lost, and how the innocent faith of a child can move emotional mountains. And every night before bed, Sophia still made an origami. Not because she still needed to ask for a family or for the awakening of someone she loved. Now she made it out of gratitude, transforming each paper bird into a silent thank you to the universe for uniting three lonely hearts into a true family. The last thing Sophia always did before putting away her nightly origami was whisper, "Thank you for letting me be a daughter and a sister. Thank you for teaching me that family is love that chooses to stay." And so the Santos family continued their journey day after day, proving that sometimes the happiest endings begin in the saddest moments, and that true love always finds a way to transform pain into joy, loneliness into companionship, and strangers into family. On the eve of the family's 8th anniversary, a date they celebrated as Santos Family Day, Sophia, now 15, Lucas, 40, and Ricardo, 61, reunited at the same hospital where it all began. They were not there as patients, but as volunteers in a project Sophia had envisioned. A permanent origami workshop for families going through difficult times at the institution. "It's perfect," Sophia said, observing the space the hospital had made available for the project, right near the room where it all began. "Do you think we'll be able to help other families like we were helped?" Lucas asked. "I'm sure of it," Sophia replied with the same conviction she showed as a child. "Because now we understand that true healing doesn't just happen in the body, it happens in the heart. And hearts heal when they find other hearts to share love." Ricardo watched his daughter and his son organizing materials for the first workshop and smiled. The 7-year-old orphan girl, who had appeared in their lives with a pink pair of scissors, had become a wise and determined young woman. The distant son, who had fought with him before the accident, had become his best friend and companion on the journey of fatherhood. "You know what I think?" Ricardo said, joining them in the organization. "What?" Sophia and Lucas asked in unison. "I think our story isn't about a girl who saved 2 people. It's about 3 people who saved each other, and who will now continue saving other families, one at a time." Sophia stopped folding paper and hugged Ricardo. Then she pulled Lucas into the embrace. "Our family is proof that miracles exist," she whispered, "and that they can happen to anyone who has the courage to love, even when it's hard." And there, in the same place where an orphan child had decided to keep a stranger in a Coma company, a new chapter of the story was born. A chapter dedicated to spreading hope, one origami at a time, one family at a time, because the Santos family had learned the most important lesson of all, that love, when true, doesn't stop growing. It multiplies, spreads, creates new circles of care and protection, and transforms the world one heart at a time. And so, as Sophia taught a new child to make their first paper bird, as Lucas talked to worried parents about the power of hope, and as Ricardo offered his medical knowledge tempered with emotional wisdom, the story of the Santos family continued to be written. No longer a story about finding family, but about being family for those who are still searching. A story that proved every day that true love is the most powerful force in the universe, capable of awakening the sleeping, healing the wounded, and transforming strangers into family. And at the end of each day of volunteer work, the Santos family returned home, knowing they had honored the miracle they lived, sharing it with others who needed to believe that miracles are still possible. The paper birds continued to fly, carrying hope to every corner where love needed to land. End of story.